अश्वतरशत श्रीमद् भक्तिवेदांत नारायण गोस्वामी महाराज श्रील गुरुदेव की जय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अश्वतरशत श्रीमद् भक्तिवेदांत वामन गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अश्वतरशत श्रीमद् भक्तिवेदांत स्वामी महाराज श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अश्वतरशत श्रीमद् भक्ति प्रज्ञान केशव गोस्वामी महाराज की जय। नितिल प्रविष्टम विष्णुपाद अश्वतरशत श्रीमद् भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। नितिल प्रविष्ट महाभागवत श्री गोक्षरस बाबाजी महाराज की जय। नितिल प्रविष्ट श्री सच्चिदानंद भक्ति विनोद ठाकुर की जय। नितिल प्रविष्ट वैष्णव सार्वभौम श्री जगन्नाथ दास बाबाजी महाराज की जय। श्री रूपनु गौरिय गुरु वार्ग की जय। श्री रूप सनातन भट्ट रघुनाथ श्री जीव गोपाल पतदास रघुनाथ शार गोसाई प्रभु की जय। श्री स्वरूप दामोदर राय रामानंदारी श्री गौर पार्षद वृंद की जय। नाम चय श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जय। सर्व अभिष्ट विरत गिरिराज महाराज की जय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माय की जय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जय। श्री हरिनाम संकीर्तन की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। वन्देऽहं श्रीगुरु श्रीयुतापरकमलं श्रीगुरु वैष्णवंश्च श्रीरूपां साग्रजातं सहगण रघुनाथं वितं तं सजीवं साद्वैतं सावधूतं परिजनसहितं कृष्णचैतन्यदेवं श्रीराधाकृष्णपदं सहगण ललिता श्रीविशाखान्वितंश्च ॐ ज्ञानतिमिरन्धस्य ज्ञानाञ्जनशलाकया चक्षुरुन्मिलितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरुवे नमः। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय राधिकाय प्रियात्मने श्रीमद्भक्तिवेदान्तनारायणेति नामिने। नमो ॐ विष्णुपदाय कृष्णपृष्ठाय भूतले श्रीमते भक्तिवेदान्त स्वामिनिति नामिने। वाञ्छकल्पतरुभ्यश्च कृपासिन्धुभ्य एव च पतितानां पावनेभ्यो वैष्णवेभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो महावदन्याय कृष्णप्रेमप्रदायते कृष्णाय कृष्णचैतन्य नाम्ने गौरतिशे नमः। गुरवे गौरचन्द्राय राधिकायै तदालये कृष्णाय कृष्णभक्ताय तद्भक्ताय नमो नमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेत्य कृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरहकातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुस्तं सार्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। शृण्वतं स्वकथा कृष्ण पुण्यश्रवणकीर्तन हृदन्तस्तो ह्यभद्राणि विधुनोति सुहृत्सतम्। नष्टप्रायेष्वभद्रेषु नित्यं भागवत सेवया भगवत्युत्तमश्लोके भक्तिर्भवति नैष्टिकी। तवैवास्मि तवैवास्मि न जीवामि त्वया विना इति विज्ञाय राधे त्वां नायमां चरणन्तिकम्। भक्त्या विहीन अपराधलक्षाय क्षिप्ताष्टकामादितरङ्गमध्ये कृपामयि त्वां शरणं प्रपन्ना वृन्दे नमस्ते चरणारविन्दम्। भज श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर शिवासरि गौर भक्त वृंदा। Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Dandavat pranams Madhavi Didi, Raseshwari Mataji, Ganga Didi, and Indira Mataji, Hari Bol, and everybody else who's watching. Kishore Prabhu, Hari Bol. So yesterday we read Swallowing the Forest Fire. Once, due to extreme heat in a forest of canes, suddenly a forest fire arose, about to devour all the moving and non-moving entities. The Gopas became fearful and approached Krishna and Balaram. Seeing the pitiable condition of his dear friends, Krishna asked them to close their eyes. The simple-hearted Gopas, who had full faith in Krishna, closed their eyes. Krishna then effortlessly swallowed all the fire. When the Gopas opened their eyes, they didn't see the fire and became happy. Seeing the uncommon magic of Krishna, the Gopas thought that Krishna must be a powerful demigod. But in their innocent, friendly affection for Krishna, they thought, if Krishna is a demigod, we must also be demigods. Then all of them returned to the village, praising their dearest friend as he played his flute. Seeing Krishna's return, the young gopis felt the greatest pleasure. His absence for even a moment was like 100 ages for these beautiful damsels of Braj. Haribol, Prajumna Prabhu, and Mantramurti Mataji. Okay, so now we will continue. We're reading from Srila Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura's Sārārtha-darśinī commentary. Chapter 20, the rainy season and autumn in Vṛndāvana. Which is now, right? Now is the rainy season's kind of finishing up now, right? And it's going to be autumn starting soon. Shri Shuka Uvacha Vastribhya Samachakyu Pralamba Vadhamevacha. Shukadev Goswami said, to the ladies of Vrindavan, the cowherd boys then related in full detail Krishna and Balaram's wonderful activities of delivering them from the forest fire and killing the demon Pralamba. Sārārtha-darśinī vritti by Srila Viśvanātha Cakravartī Ṭhākura. To enhance the portrayal of Sri Krishna's pastimes, Shukadev Goswami describes the beauty of the monsoon and autumn seasons in Braj in this chapter. In metaphorical terms, he depicts the wonderful qualities of the sky, rivers, and forests. So today's going to be 49 verses of description, huh? I don't know. I haven't read this chapter yet. Gopa vridashta gopascha tarupa kanya vismita menire deva pravaro Krishna Ramo vrajam gato. The elder cowherd men and ladies were amazed to hear this account, and they concluded that Krishna and Balaram must be exalted demigods who had appeared in Vrindavan. Finally, they believed the children, the cowherd boys. Usually they doubt everything they say whenever they tell them these things. Commentary. After hearing about the extraordinary feats of Krishna and Balaram, the elderly Vrajvasis thought that they were two eminent demigods. Due to their strong bond of love, they never thought Krishna and Balaram were God. These exploits simply nourished the sweetness of their relationship even more. It is not stated anywhere that their Vatsalya Bhav, that their parental love, ever decreased a bit. This would have happened, however, if they thought these two boys were God. Tata pravartata pravrit sarva sattva samudbhava vidyotmana paridhir vispurjita nabhastala. Then the rainy season began, giving life and sustenance to all living beings. The sky began to rumble with thunder, and lightning flashed on the horizon. I love rainy season. Commentary. The onset of the rainy season brought new plants and sustenance to all living beings. Everything which had dried up became renewed with life. Paridhi refers to the disks of the sun and moon, which became especially bright. The sky began to rumble with thunder. Sandra nilam budar vyoma savidyut stanayit nubi aspashta jyotirachannang brahmeva sagunam babho. The sky was then covered by dense blue clouds accompanied by lightning and thunder. Thus, the sky and its natural illumination were covered in the same way that the spirit soul is covered by the three modes of material nature. Commentary. The cloudy sky during the rainy season resembles the pure spirit soul covered by the modes of nature. Lightning is compared to Sattvagun, thunder to Rajagun, and the clouds to Tamagun. Conditioned by the three modes of nature, the original brilliant nature of the pure spirit soul, Brahma, is only dimly reflected through the haze of the material attributes, Gunam. Hare Krishna Gargaraji and Sudevi Didi. One second, I'm just checking. Okay, mic's connected. Ashto masan nipitang Ashtomasan nipitang yad bhumyashcho damayam vasu swagobhir muktum avrebhe parijanya kala agate. With its rays, the sun had for 8 months drunk up the earth's wealth in the form of water. Now that the proper time had arrived, the sun began releasing this accumulated wealth. Huh. Commentary. By its rays, the sun draws water from the earth for 8 months. When the proper time arrives, the sun returns the water. The sun's evaporating the earth's wealth of water resembles a king's collecting taxes. The sun is compared to a king because it takes and gives water just as the king takes taxes and returns benefits to the tax-paying citizens. Tarirvanto mahameghash chandas shvasanave pita Prinanam jivanam hyasya mumuchu karuna iva. Flashing with lightning, great clouds were shaken and swept about by fierce winds. Just like merciful persons, the clouds gave their lives for the pleasure of this world. Commentary. Agitated by the winds, the clouds released their water on the parched earth. Jivanam also means water. Interesting. The clouds are compared to merciful persons. As clouds are agitated by the wind, kind-hearted persons are moved by the misery of others. Paradukkha dukhi, right? Seeing that suffering, compassionate persons such as Rantidev sacrifice their lives or the water that keeps them alive and give it to others. This is how the cloud is compared with a compassionate person. Tapakrisha deva mirda asirvarshi yasi mahi yataiva kamya tapasas tanu samprapya tatphalam. The earth had been emaciated by the summer heat, but she became fully nourished again when moistened by the god of rain. Thus, the earth was like a person whose body has been emaciated by austerities undergone for material purpose, but who again becomes fully nourished when he achieves the fruit of those austerities. Commentary. In this verse, the earth, being dried up by the sun, is compared to a tapasvi, a person doing austerities. A tapasvi is rewarded by the demigods. The earth becomes sprinkled with showers of rain, just as the body The earth becomes sprinkled with showers of rain, just as the body of a tapasvi becomes nourished by the demigods. As the body of a person desiring material results becomes healthy on fulfilling his desires, so the earth becomes nourished by the rains. This example, however, is repugnant for the devotees striving for the ultimate goal, because austerity should be performed only for realizing the Supreme Lord. Nishamukeshu kadyotastamasa bhantina graha yata papena pashanda nahi vedha kalo yuge. In the evening twilight during the rainy season, the darkness allowed the glowworms, but not the stars, to shine forth. Just as in the age of Kali, the predominance of sinful activities always allows atheistic doctrines to overshadow the true knowledge of the Vedas. Commentary. In this verse, Pashanda means Pashanda Shastra, atheistic doctrines. Fireflies shine forth in the evening twilight, but not the twinkling stars and planets. Similarly, in the age of Kali, atheistic scriptures become prominent. This verse also uses a negative example. Shrutva parjanya ninnadam manduka sasrijur gira tushnim shayana pragyadvad brahmana niyamatyaye. The frogs, who had all along been lying silent, suddenly began croaking when they heard the rumbling of the rain clouds. In the same way that Brahman students, who perform their morning duties in silence, begin reciting their lessons when called by their teacher. Commentary. The frogs began croaking on hearing the thunder, just as Brahman students begin reciting their lessons when called by their teacher. This is a positive example. It's nice the frogs are getting some. 1 second. Recharge. Asan utpattagaminya kshudra nadya nushuyati pungso yata svatantrasya dehadravina sampada. With the advent of the rainy season, the insignificant streams, which had become dry, began to swell and then strayed from their proper course, like the body, property, and money of a man controlled by the urges of his senses. Commentary. As the rivers swell with water in the rainy season, they cause disturbance to others because they become difficult to cross. For one who acts independently without following the scriptural rules, his body, property, and money become a cause of disturbance for others. This is a negative example. Harita haribi shashpar indra gopashtalohita uchilindra krita chaya nrinam shrir iva bhur abhut. The newly grown grass made the earth emerald green. The Indragopa insects added a reddish hue, and white mushrooms added further color and circles of shade. Thus the earth appeared like a person who has suddenly become rich. Commentary. The earth appeared green from the fresh sprouts of green grass. In some places it appeared reddish because of the small red insects. The white mushrooms were like umbrellas. Thus the earth appeared like a military parade, displaying the wealth of a king shaded by parasols. This is a positive comparison. Kshetrani shashasampadbhi karshakanam mudam dadhu maninam anutapam vai daivadhinam ajanatam. With their wealth of grains, the fields gave joy to the farmers. But those fields created remorse in the hearts of those who were too proud to engage in farming and who failed to understand how everything is under the control of the Supreme. Commentary. The proud man proclaims, "Farming is a lowly job which I cannot do." But when the fields yield abundant crops, he regrets, "If I had done some farming, I would get wealth during the rainy season." In this way, the fields gave joy to the farmer and pain to the lazy man, because such a person does not understand that his suffering is under the law of karma. Similarly, seeing the man on the Nivritti Marg, the path of renunciation, seeing that man attain liberation, the man on the path of sense enjoyment, pravritti marg, laments. This example is not attractive to the devotee. 13. Jalastalokasa sarve navavari nishevaya abhibhranuruchiram rupam yatahari nishevaya. As all creatures of the land and water took advantage of the newly fallen rainwater, their forms became attractive and pleasing, just as a devotee becomes beautiful by engaging in the service of the Supreme Lord. Commentary. Abhibhran means to take on. Just as one becomes suddenly beautiful on performing devotional service to the Lord, since it is the supreme dharma and gives the highest results. Similarly, all the forms of animals and plants become attractive in the rainy season. This is a positive example. Saridbhi sangata sindush chukshobha shvasanor mimam apakva yoginashchitam kamaktam gunayugyata. Where the rivers joins the ocean, it became agitated, its waves blown about by the wind, just as the mind of an immature yogi becomes agitated because he is still tainted by lust and attached to objects of sense gratification. The use of the masculine gender for Sindhu instead of feminine is traditional usage. The ocean becomes agitated with waves by the merging of many smaller rivers. Similarly, the desires in the heart of an immature yogi rise up like waves when he contacts material objects. Girayo varshadharabhir hanyamana nava vivyatu abhibhuyamana abhibhuyamana vyasa naryata dokshaja chetasa. Whatever, I said it. Just as a devotee whose minds are absorbed in the personality of Godhead remain peaceful even when attacked by all sorts of dangers. The mountains in the rainy season were not at all disturbed by the repeated striking of the rain-bearing clouds. Commentary. Though struck by torrents of water, the mountain does not shake, but rather becomes beautiful, being washed of dirt. Similarly, a devotee afflicted by the pains caused by his body, mind, or other entities is not disturbed because his mind is absorbed in the Supreme Lord. Adhokshaj chitta. Oh, that's a nice example. Let me reread that. Similarly, a devotee afflicted by the pains caused by his body, mind, or other entities is not disturbed because his mind is absorbed in the Supreme Lord. The Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam says that material pains cannot disturb the devotee absorbed in Krishna's loving service. Marashaya katamrishta shinvanti katayanti cha tapanti vividhashtapa naitan margata chetasa. Taking shelter of me, they engage in constantly hearing and chanting about me. The various kinds of material miseries do not affect them because they are always filled with thoughts of my pastimes and activities. That's from Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam 25:23. Thus, a sincere devotee welcomes such difficulty. The sincere devotee welcomes such difficulties. Because of his humility and surrendered attitude, he remains free of pride, envy, and other bad qualities. Marga bhavuvu sandigdas trinaschanna hyasangskrita nabhyasya manashrutayo dvijay kalena chahata. During the rainy season, the roads, not being cleansed, become covered with grass and how do you say this word? Debris? Anyways, with grass and debris, and were thus difficult to make out. These roads were like religious scriptures that Brahmins no longer study, and thus become corrupted and covered over with the passage of time. Interesting. Commentary. Not studying the scriptures is compared to the unclean roads. The roads becoming overgrown with grass in time are like the scripture. Sorry, the roads becoming overgrown with grass in time are like scriptures, which become neglected and corrupted when no longer studied by the Brahmins. Lokabandhu shumegheshu vedutaschalaso hrida staryam na chakrukaminya purusheshu gunishviva. Though the clouds are the well-wishing friends of all living beings, the lightning, fickle in its affinities, moved from one group of clouds to another, like lusty women unfaithful even to virtuous men. Commentary. A prostitute cannot fix her attention on one man for long, even though the man may have good qualities such as intelligence. Similarly, the lightning moves from one cloud to another without lingering very long. This is a negative analogy. Dhanurviyati mahendrang nirgunam cha guninyabhat vyakte guna vyatikare gunavan purusho yata. When the curved bow of Indra, the rainbow, appeared in the sky, which had the quality of the thundering sound, it was unlike ordinary bows because it did not rest upon a string. Similarly, when the Supreme Lord appears in this world, which is the interaction of the material qualities, he is unlike ordinary persons because he remains free from all material qualities and independent of all material conditions. Commentary. Just as the Lord, though without material qualities, appears in the material worlds to perform pastimes, so the rainbow appears in the sky which has the quality of sound without a string. This is a play on words. Nararajo dupaschana svajotsna rajitar ghanai ahang matya bhasitaya svabhasa purusho yata. During the rainy season, the moon was provocated from appearing directly by the covering of the clouds, which were themselves illuminated by the moon's rays. Similarly, the living being in material existence is prevented from appearing directly by the covering of the false ego, which is itself illuminated by the consciousness of the pure soul. Commentary. In the rainy season, the moon does not shine, being covered by clouds which are themselves illuminated by the moon. This resembles the Lord who is not visible, being hidden by his avidya shakti, which rises from himself. This is a good example for the Gyanis. Megha gamotsava hrishta pratyanandan chikandina grihesho tapta nirvinna yatachuta janagame. The peacocks became festive and cried out a joyful greeting when they saw the clouds arrive. Just as people distressed in household life feel pleasure when the pure devotees of the infallible Lord visit them. Commentary. The peacocks became happy and cried loudly upon seeing the approaching clouds and hearing the rumbling of thunder. This is just like the Grihastha Vaishnavas, who start to sing and dance in bliss after hearing Vaishnav bhajans. This example is suitable for devotees. Pitvapa padapapadbhir asananatmamurtaya prakshamas tapasa shanta yatakamanu. The trees had grown thin and dry, but after they drank the newly fallen rainwater through their feet, their various bodily features blossomed. Similarly, one whose body has grown thin and weak from austerity again exhibits his healthy bodily features upon enjoying the material objects gained through that austerity. Commentary. As the trees become filled with sprouts, leaves, and flowers during the rainy season, so the tapasvi, after becoming emaciated by penance, again fattens his body by enjoying material objects. This, of course, is unfavorable for those practicing detachment. Saraswashantarodhasu Nyusur anga pisarasa griheshvashantakrityeshu krityeshu gramya eva durashaya. The cranes continued dwelling on the shores of the lakes, although the shores were agitated during the rainy season, just as materialistic persons with contaminated minds always remain at home, despite the many disturbances there. Commentary. The cranes dwell intensely on the lake shores, though littered with mud, thorns, and weeds. This is similar to the materialistic person remaining home despite so many disturbances. This example is unfavorable. 23. Jalo ghar nirabhidyanta setavo varshatishvare pashandinam asarvadar vedamarga kaloyata. When Indra sent forth his rains, the flood waters broke through the irrigation dikes in the agricultural fields. Just as in the Kali Yuga, the atheists' false theories break down the boundaries of Vedic injunctions. Commentary. Indra, thinking himself the Lord, pours down excessive rains which smash the irrigation walls in the fields, just as in Kali Yuga the materialists destroyed Dharma. Kali is compared to Indra, the activities of the materialists to the rains, and the destruction of Vedic Dharma to the destruction of dikes. This is an unfavorable example. Vyamunchan vayubhirnunna bhutebhyashchamritam ghana yatashisho vishpataya kale kale dvijerita. The clouds, impelled by the winds, released their nectarian water for the benefit of all living beings, just as kings, instructed by their Brahmin priests, dispense charity to the citizens. Commentary. Just as a king inspired by his priests fulfills everyone's desires, so the clouds, incited by the winds, release rain. The analogy of the king is positive. Evam vanam tadvarshishtam bhakva karjurajambumat gopalar vritorantum sabalo pravishadhari. When the Vṛndāvana forest had thus become resplendent, filled with ripe dates and jumbo fruits, Lord Krishna, surrounded by his cows and cowherd boyfriends, and accompanied by Sri Balaram, entered that forest to enjoy. Commentary. After describing the rainy season, Shukdev Goswami relates Krishna's pastimes in the monsoon forests in 7 verses. Krishna entered the forest of Vrindavan, which was flourishing with ripe date and jumbo trees. Denavo mandagaminya udo bharena bhuyasa yayor bhagavata huta drutam pritasnutastana. The cows had to move slowly because of their weighty milk bags, but they quickly ran to see the Supreme Personality of Godhead as soon as he called for them, their affection for him causing their udders to become wet. Commentary. Milk automatically flowed from the cow's udders due to their extreme motherly affection for Krishna. Vanokasa pramudita vanarajir madhuchuta jaladhara girir nadar asannada drishe guha. The Lord saw the joyful aborigine girls of the forest, the trees dripping sweet sap, and the mountain waterfalls, whose resounding indicated that there were caves nearby. Commentary. In the monsoon forest, Krishna saw the beautiful Pulinda women, the honey pouring down from the trees, the waterfalls flowing from the mountains, and far off caves, which appeared to be nearby from the echoing sounds. Kvachirvanaspati krode guhayam cha vivashati nirvishya bhagavan reme kandamula palashana. When it rained, the Lord would sometimes enter a cave or the hollow of a tree to play and to eat roots and fruits. Huh, inside the tree. That's so cool. Commentary. When it rained, Krishna would run and enter the hollow of a tree or a cave and amuse himself by eating radish. There are two types of radish, round ones and long ones. I don't like the long radish. Wait, why was Krishna eating radish? Tadodhanam samanitam shilayam shalilantike sambhojaniyar bhuje gopai sankarshananditan. Lord Krishna would take his meal of boiled rice and yogurt, sent from home, in the company of Lord Sankarshan and the cowherd boys, who regularly ate with him. They would all sit down to eat on a large stone near the water. Commentary. Servants would bring food from Krishna's house to a place called Chak. Krishna sat on a stone slab near the water. Even today, people can see that eating place on the bank of a kund. I guess that's Bhojantali. One second, I'm going to turn on the fan. I'm feeling a little hot. Shadvalo parisambishya charvato militekshanam triptan vrishan vatsataran triptan vrishan vatsataran gascha svodho bharashrama pravrit shriyam chatang viksha sarvakala sukavalam vaham bhagavan pujayam chakre atma shakti Lord Krishna watched the contented bulls, calves, and cows sitting on the green grass and grazing with closed eyes. And he saw that the cows were tired from the burden of their heavy milk bags. Thus, observing the beauty and opulence of Vrindavan's rainy season, a perennial source of great happiness, the Lord offered all respect to that season, which was expanded from his own internal potency. Evam nivasatos tasmin Rama Keshavayor Vraje Sharat Sama Bhavar Vyabhra Swacham Vaparushalina Nila. While Lord Ram and Lord Keshav were thus dwelling in Vrindavan, the fall season arrived, when the sky is cloudless, the water clear, and the wind gentle. The description of autumn begins here by saying that the water had become clear and the wind blew gently. Sharada nirajotpatya nirani prakritim yayo Brashtanam iva chetangsi punar yoga nishevaya. The autumn season, which regenerated the lotus flowers, also restored the various bodies of water to their original purity, just as the process of devotional service purifies the minds of the fallen yogis when they return to it. It's an important instruction. Commentary. Due to the autumn season, the lotus flowers blossom and the lakes become crystal clear. Similarly, by engaging in devotional service, the heart becomes purified, and then Sri Krishna appears. The autumn season is compared to devotional service, the lake to the heart, and the appearance of Krishna is compared to the lotus. This is a positive example. Just checking the comments. Okay, I got debris right. Awesome. Okay, yeah, maybe one time we should do that. Yes. Oh, cool. This chapter features in light of the Bhagavat. Oh, cool. Yeah, we have to check that out then. Vyomno Brahm Bhutashabalyam Bhuvapankam Apamalam Sharajahara Shaminam Krishna Bhakti Vyata Shubham. Autumn cleared the sky of clouds, let the animals get out of the and it let the animals get out of their crowded living conditions, cleaned the earth of its covering of mud, and purified the water of contamination. In the same way that loving service rendered to the Lord Krishna frees the members of the four spiritual orders from their respective troubles. Commentary. The autumn season removed the clouds in the sky, the crowded living conditions, the mud from the earth, and the cloudy water. This is like bhakti arising through devotional association, which removes the suffering produced by executing one's duties in the four ashrams. However, when one becomes fully Krishna conscious, he is no longer obligated to perform the various duties of a particular ashram, be it brahmachari, grihastha, vanaprastha, or sannyas. As bhakti removes the suffering of a brahmachari undergoes by humbly serving his guru, by herding cows and other menial acts, so the autumn season removed the clouds in the sky. As bhakti removes the suffering of a grihastha, the suffering that a grihastha experiences by associating with his family members doing shraddha rites and other domestic duties, so the autumn season removed the suffering of living together in close quarters during the inclement weather of the rainy season. By enabling everyone to freely move here and there, as this is supposed to be a period. Let me reread that. So, as bhakti removes the suffering a grihastha experiences by associating with his family members doing shraddha rites and other domestic duties, so the autumn season removed the suffering of living together in close quarters during the inclement weather of the rainy season, by enabling everyone to freely move here and there. As bhakti removes the suffering of the vanaprastha, who covers his body with earth, the autumn season dried up the mud from the earth. Bhakti removes the suffering of the sannyasi, who struggles to meditate on the Brahman. For those whose minds are attached to the unmanifested and personal feature of the Lord, advancement is exceedingly painful. That's Bhagavad Gita 12.5. Similarly, the autumn season moved the dirt and debris from the rivers and lakes. This is a positive series of analogies. Sarvaswam jaladahitva vireju shubhravarchasha yatataktai shana shanta munayo mukta kilbisha. The clouds, having given up all they possessed, shone forth with purified effulgence, just like peaceful sages who have given up all material desires and are thus free of all peaceful sages who have given up all material desires and are thus free from all sinful propensities. The clouds, having given up all they possess, shone forth with purified effulgence. Okay. Commentary. As munis become purified by giving up all sinful propensities and material miseries to attain sons, wealth, followers, and followers. Sorry, guys. I don't know. Let me reread that. As munis become purified by giving up all sinful propensities and material desires to attain sons, wealth, and followers, similarly, after expelling all their rain, the clouds become pure and white in color. This is a positive analogy. Girayo mamuchustoyam kvachena mumuchu shivam yata jnanamritam kale jnanino dadate nava. During this season, the mountains sometimes released their pure water and sometimes did not. Just as experts in transcendental science sometimes give the nectar of transcendental knowledge and sometimes do not. Jnanamritam here refers to the teachings about the Supreme Lord, and Jnanina means experts in devotional wisdom such as Narad, Prahlad, and Jadabharat. They gave knowledge to the hunter Rahugana, and the children of the demons, but not to others. They give to those fortunate souls who desire to know. In a similar way, in autumn, the clear water of the mountains only flows in some canals. Naiva vedam kshiyamanam jalam gada jale chara yatayur anvaham kshayang naramurdha kutumbina. The fish swimming in the increasingly shallow water did not at all understand that the water was diminishing, just as foolish family men cannot see how the time they have left to live is diminishing with every passing day. Commentary. As an ignorant man attached to his family does not realize that his lifespan is decreasing at every moment, foolish fish play in the shallow water, not realizing that it is decreasing at every moment. This is a negative analogy. Gadavari charastapam avindan charadarkajam yata daridra kripan yata daridra kripana kutumbya vijitendriya. Just as a miserly, poverty-stricken person overly absorbed in family life suffers because he cannot control his senses, the fish swimming in the shallow water had to suffer the heat of the autumn sun. Commentary. As a poor man suffers while supporting a large family, so the fish in scarce water must endure the painful heat of the autumn sun. In the previous verse, a wealthy family man was described, whereas here, the negative effects of a poor family man are described. Or this verse can be taken to refer to the suffering of the attached family man mentioned in the previous verse. What time is it? Okay, we have 5 minutes. Shana, and we'll check out quickly the light of the Bhagavat also afterwards. Shana Rajahu Pankam Stalanyaman Chavirudha Yataha Mamatam Dhira Sharira Dishanatmasu. Gradually, the different areas of land gave up their muddy condition, and the plants grew past their unripe stage. They grew past their unripe stage, in the same way that sober sages give up egotism and possessiveness. These are based on things different from the real self, namely the material body and its byproducts. Okay, yeah, I get it. Commentary. As the intelligent person gives up everything unrelated to the soul, the Paramatma and let me reread that. As the unintelligent person gives up everything unrelated to the soul, the Paramatma and Krishna, namely the body, false ego, and possessiveness, and tries to develop attachment to Krishna, so the fields give up their muddy condition and plants give up their unripe state. The fields would give up their muddy condition, and the plants would give up their unripe state. Nishchalambur abhutushnim samudra sharadagame atmanyuparate samyam munirvyuparatangama. With the arrival of autumn, the ocean and lakes became silent, their water still, just like a sage who has desisted from all material activities and given up his recitation of Vedic mantras. Commentary. As a sage with a motionless mind stops chanting the Vedas, with the coming of autumn, the lakes and ocean become motionless and stop roaring. This refers to a place called Satovasa, west of Mathura. This is a positive comparison. Kedarebhyastvapogrinan karshakadre dasetubhi yatha pranay sravajgyanam tanirodhena yoginam. In the same way that the practitioners of yoga bring their senses under strict control to check their consciousness from flowing out through the agitated senses, the farmers erect strong mud banks to keep the water within their rice fields from draining out. Commentary. The farmer keeps the water lying in the fields after the rainy season from running out with dikes, just as the yogi controls his senses to prevent his consciousness from flowing out due to the agitation of the senses. This is a positive comparison. Sharad arkang shujang stapan bhutanam udupo harat dehabhimanajang bodho mukundo vrajayoshitam. The autumn moon relieved all creatures of the suffering caused by the sun's rays, just as wisdom relieves a person of the misery caused by his identifying with his material body, and as Lord Mukunda relieves Vrindavan's ladies of the distress caused by their separation from him. Commentary. As knowledge takes away the suffering arising from bodily identification, as Mukunda takes away the suffering of the women of Raj, so the rising moon takes away the heat of the midday sun. Kam ashobhata nirmeghang sharadvimalatārakam sattayuktam yatachittam shabda brahmartha-darshanam. Free of clouds and filled with clearly visible stars, the autumn sky showed brightly, just like the spiritual consciousness of one who has directly experienced the purport of the Vedic scriptures. Commentary. As the heart which directly experiences conclusive Vedic wisdom is endowed with spiritual goodness and shines brilliantly, so the moon and stars shine brightly in the cloudless sky of autumn. The sky is compared to the heart. The absence of clouds is compared to excellence, and the autumn season is compared to the Vedas. The stars are compared to Nishkama Karma, Gyan Yoga, and Tapa Yoga. And the moon, the leader of all the stars, is compared to Bhakti. This is a positive comparison. Akhanda mandalo vyomni rarajo ganai shashi yataya pati Krishna vrishni Cakravartī bhuvi. Oh, it's 8:30 now. The full moon shone in the sky, surrounded by stars, just as Sri Krishna, the lord of the Yadu dynasty, shone brilliantly on the earth, surrounded by all the Vrishnis. Commentary. Full moon is compared to Swayam Bhagavan Sri Krishna, the full manifestation of the absolute truth. As the lord of the Yadus, Krishna was surrounded by prominent members of the Vrishni dynasty such as Nanda, Upananda, Vasudeva, and Akrura, who are compared to the stars in the sky. This comparison is favorable for meditation. Ashlisha shitoshnam prasuna vanamarutam janastapam jahur gopyo na Krishna hrita chetasa. Except for the gopis, whose hearts had been stolen by Krishna, the people could forget their suffering by embracing the wind coming from the flower-filled forest. This wind was neither hot nor cold. Commentary. The wind of autumn is neither hot nor cold. By embracing this wind, everyone felt relief from the heat, except the gopis, who were burning in the pain of separation from Krishna. Instead of decreasing their suffering, it increased it. Authorities explain the sequence of analogies in this verse as follows. Just like the gopis whose hearts had been stolen by Krishna could not embrace him to reclaim their hearts, so the general masses did not embrace the winds to get relief from the heat. Kavamriga kaganarya pushpinya sharadad bhavan anviya manasva vrishai palar isha kriya iva. By the influence of the autumn season, all the cows, doe, women, and female birds became fertile and were followed by their respective mates in search of sexual enjoyment, just as activities performed for the service of the Supreme Lord are automatically followed by all beneficial results. Huh, very interesting comparison. Commentary. The cows, doe, and female birds, though unwilling, were forcibly engaged in copulation by their respective mates and became pregnant. This is compared to the worship of the Lord, which, though performed without desire for results, yields many material results such as happiness and enjoyment. Udahrishyan varijani suryothane kumudvina ragyato nirbhaya loka yatadasyun vina nripa. O King Parikshit, when the autumn sun rose, all the lotus flowers blossomed happily, except the night-blooming kumud. Just as in the presence of a strong ruler, everyone becomes fearless, except the thieves. Commentary. Ah, so close to the end. What do you say? Should I finish this since we're so close where I only have 3 verses left? Or should I continue tomorrow? Because it is 8:33 now. Back the comments in a second. Puragrameshvagrayanar indriyascha mahotsavai pabho bhupakvashashyadhya kalabhyam nitaram hare. In all the towns and villages, people held great festivals, performing the Vedic fire sacrifices for honoring and tasting the first grains of the new harvest, along with similar celebrations that followed local custom and tradition. Thus, the earth, rich with newly grown grain, and especially beautified by the presence of Krishna and Balaram, shone beautifully as an expansion of the Supreme Lord. Commentary. The word agrayanai refers to the Vedic sacrifice called navana, wherein the freshly harvested grains are offered to the deity in the temple. The Smriti scriptures say that the navana ceremony should not be performed on Nanda Tithi, while Vishnu is sleeping during Chaturmasya. Huh. Well, Chaturmasya is this rainy season, during the waning phase of the moon, or during the months of Kartik and Posh. The Navana ceremony occurs in Agrahayan month, that's Margashirsha, November, December, just after Uttana Akadashi. However, because it takes place right after the autumn season, it is said to take place during the autumn. The word Indriyaish refers to sacrifices for Indra to satisfy the senses. This description took place before the year in which Krishna stopped Indra's worship. Just as the earth, a potency of Lord Hari, shone beautifully by the presence of Krishna and Balaram, so the earth became resplendent with the festivals of Navana and the worship of Indra in the villages. The word Hare also means moon, so Kalabhyam Hare means by the phases of the moon, just as the earth became splendid with festivals held by the king celebrating the phases of the moon on the first and second tithis of the waxing moon as it rose in the evening. So in that same way, the earth became beautified with the many festivals held in the villages. So this is the last verse. I'm just going to finish this. Sorry. I skipped a commentary. Did I skip a commentary? Verse 47? Oh God. Okay, thank you for. Okay, so for this one, O King Parikshit, when the autumn sun rose, all the lotus flowers blossomed happily except the night blooming kumud. Just as in the presence of a strong ruler, everyone becomes fearless except the thieves. So, and here's the commentary. The night blooming lotus flowers are compared to thieves. This idea comes from the syllable ku, which means low class, and mud, which means joy. Sorry about that, guys. Thank you, Indira Mataji. Low class fellows, like thieves, find pleasure at night by stealing, just as all people except the thieves are happy when a powerful king sits on the throne. When the sun rises in the morning, all the lotuses are happy and bloom, except the night blooming lotus. Okay. So just as all people except thieves are happy when a powerful king sits on the throne, when the sun rises in the morning, all the lotuses are happy and bloom except the night blooming lotus. Okay, now we're reading the last verse. Aning muni nripasnata nirgamyarthan prapedire varsharuddhayata siddha swapindan kala agate. The merchants, sages, kings, and brahmachari students, kept in by the rain, were at last free to go out and attain their desired objects, just as those who achieve perfection in this life can, when the proper time comes, leave the material body and attain their respective forms. Commentary. The merchants, sages, kings, and students who were confined to their rooms by the rain left when the rain stopped and attained their desired goals, namely money, independence, power, and knowledge. This resembles realized transcendentalists who, at the time of death, attain forms like the eternal associates of the Lord. Thus ends the commentary on the 20th chapter of the 10th canto of the Bhagavatam for the pleasure of the devotees in accordance with the previous acharyas. So tomorrow will be, well, not tomorrow, because actually we're doing Rupa Shiksha class tomorrow. So the day after tomorrow, I will read from this Venu Gita. The gopis glorify the song of Krishna's flute. So yeah, day after tomorrow. Thank you for letting me go so far over time today. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Nitai Gaur, Hari Bol, Hari Bol. Haribo, Nitai Gaur Haribo, Nitai Gaur Haribo, 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 Nitai Gaur Haribo. Jai Shishi Guru Garanga Gandharvika Giridhari, Shishi Radha Vinod Bihari Juki Jai. Shri Govinda Gopinath Maran Mohan Juki Jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Narayan Gosai Maharaj Srila Gurudev Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Vaman Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Gosai Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitil Pavishtam Vishnupad Ashtatara Shata Shishimar Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Gosai Prabhupada Ki Jai. Nitila Pavishta Maha Bhagavat Srila Gorksharas Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Nitila Pavishta Srila Satchidananda Bhakti Vinod Ṭhākura Ki Jai. Nitila Pavishta Vaishnav Sarvabhauma Srila Jagannath Das Babaji Maharaj Ki Jai. Shri Rupanu Gauriya Guru Varga Ki Jai. Shri Rupa Sanatan Bhatta Raghunath, Shri Jeev Gopal Bhatta Dashagunath, Shar Goswami Prabhu Ki Jai. Shri Sarup Damodar Rai Ramanandari Shri Gaur Parshad Vrinda ki jai. Namacharya Shri Haridas Ṭhākura ki jai. प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रेम से कहो श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधार शिवासरी गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री क्षेत्र मंडल गौर मंडल व्रज मंडल मथुरा वृंदावन धाम की जाय। सर्व अभिष्ट प्रदाता गिरिराज महाराज की जाय। श्री राधा कुंड श्याम कुंड की जाय। श्री यमुना देवी गंगा देवी की जाय। श्री तुलसी महारानी वृंद देवी की जाय। श्री भक्ति देवी की जाय। श्री पूर्णमासी योग माया की जाय। श्री गोपेश्वर महादेव की जाय। श्री हरि नाम संकीर्तन की जाय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जाय। समागत गौर भक्त वृंद की जाय। श्री निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि वो ग्रंथराज श्रीमद् भागवतम की jai. Okay, we'll have to check this out later. Light of the Bhagavat. Vrindai Tulsi Devai Priyai Keshavashacha Krishna Bhakti Pradadevi Satyavataya Namo Namaha Vancha Kalpatarubhyashta Kripa Sindhu Bhyayavacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Dandavat pranams everybody. Thanks for tolerating my reading today. Today was not a smooth day. Yesterday and today, it's difficult reading days for me. I don't know why. But yeah, tomorrow we could also look through this Light of the Bhagavat. It's so beautiful. Yeah, we'll go over this day after tomorrow. Light. That's so beautiful. Okay, yeah, so we'll look through this. Okay, see you all day after tomorrow, everybody. Haribol.